On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, we have made it through the first 48 hours without Mikko Rantanen. How are we feeling? Let's check in with that in this weekend of games for the Avs, a thrilling finish in New York. A lot to talk about. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. If you want to get in on the conversation, sign up for our subtext. Link to that's in the show notes down below. When you do, chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, and we get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we will do and share on this podcast a little bit later. And we're going to start off right off the bat, sir. Like we said in the opening, trades happen all the time in this league, but every once in a while, one just lingers around, hangs around. And without a doubt, that was this Mikko Rantanen trade. Obviously, we talked about it on Friday, but it's such a big deal. I figured we would get through the weekend, big back-to-back that the Avs had, lost the one in Boston, won the one in New York. And those are your first two games without Mikko Rantanen. So you didn't really have time to kind of dwell on this and cry about it. Although I'm sure some people did. And now that those games are over, I figured why not start there and how we're feeling post Mikko. It's still a little bit surreal. It's still a little bit difficult to digest.
Yeah. And I like that you brought up like how quick you just got right back into the game. And I think that's kind of how I processed it. It's like, because I hate to break it to Avs fans, the story's not over. And you're gonna wait till the end of the season. Where is he gonna sign? You really haven't heard the full story. But guess what? I'm just gonna tell you how I'm dealing with it. It's over. No amount of tears or bemoaning, or you don't see 96 coming through the door. You got to get back to business as usual. And the pieces that came in, they've been nice. So it kind of helps with that. But you just got to understand, just treat it like mentally file it away like he's injured, and we'll worry about it at the end of the year. But like right now, like that's just how you got to process it.
It's funny you say that because, that's kind of in a weird way how I felt about the weekend. It was just like, he's just missing these games. He's not really gone. He's just he's out with a UBI, and you know what I mean. Just because he's been around for so long and he's such a big part of the team. It's sunk in, but the part where like he's not coming back. They're not going to sign him in the offseason. You know what I mean? Like if Carolina doesn't sign him, he's not an option to come back. I think the Avalanche, made that decision, and they have moved on. It's just, and it's tough to, within the first few days from what you hear from people, I think you get the real story down the road of what really went on, because you're hearing, he was blindsided by it. You're hearing that there was negotiations, but both of those things can be true, because if there were negotiations going on, and then, they up and traded him, he could still be blindsided by that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what to make of the whole thing, except that you can't just weed through all this stuff and say, oh, it could be this, could be that, could be whatever. The bottom line is like, it's over. It's over. I'm sure guys like Nathan MacKinnon were shocked. And he said that. He said, I thought he was going to play here, forever. And you get the whole thing. Well, it's a business. Yes, that's true. But that doesn't mean these aren't humans with emotions. And they can't just say like, oh, it's the business side of things, whatever, move on. No, you get attached to guys. You get attached to the city. You get attached to the fans. And this goes back to something I say all the time, Kyle, if you listen to the show. It's so difficult for me to get attached to players individually, because stuff like this happens even to superstars. And, Mikko was here for a lot longer than some other superstars in other sports that are maybe there for 3, 4, 5 years, and then they're gone. So you appreciate that Mikko was here for as long as he was, but unfortunately, this is the business side of things. And as a fan, for me, it's tough to get attached to them because a player starting and finishing his career with one team is so rare in this day and age of sports and free agency that I've kind of, I'm an Avalanche fan. Whoever plays for the Avalanche, I root for them. And sure, individually you root for guys, they're part of the team, but this happens. This happens in sports. It hasn't happened a lot to the Avalanche, but they're the latest team to lose a superstar.
And I know everybody's going to be jumping in the comment section, but I heard this, but I saw this. I will tell you right now, I agree with Chris. You're not going to get the full story until the end of the season, because even as this trade came down, the pieces weren't exact. And I was literally in my timeline had 2 different players coming to Colorado being reported off and on all the way through. So when the season's over, you might get a better timeline. Did it start in the summer? Were there calls in the summer?
Yeah.
Were there calls? No. What you got to do, you got to understand this is business. This is how it is. And this is what your team is. Like if you told me at the beginning of the year that I'd be cheering for Natchez in an Avalanche sweater, I would laugh you out of the building. And hey, Jack Drury's here too. Hey, everybody, let's pull out our number 18 jerseys. Those are relevant again. Right. So that's a plus. But you just got to, that's how you got to do it. Like that, he did not take the ice against the Bruins. He did not take the ice against the Rangers. You're going to have to move on, and you can't keep looking behind and everything. You can't keep pointing back to either, because it's not going to help this team. And it's not going to, like, mentally, it's not going to help fans enjoy the season for what it is. We'll have to address this at the end of the year, because this team is still in flux, still with the Val Nichushkin and Gabe Landeskog juggling. You still don't know what this team's going to look like.
I think the Chris McFarland press conference that he gave, he said, everything that I was expecting him to say, with the exception of not that I wasn't expecting him to say something like this, but maybe just wasn't prepared for it. But he said, we're not a deep enough team.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, okay, so maybe that was the tough decision to make. We can either sign Mikko Rantanen. It kind of made me feel like they could sign him and meet his price or somewhere near it, if they wanted to sacrifice some depth. So that kind of made me feel like they made the conscious decision that we are not a deep enough team, and we are gonna have to be okay with losing someone of Mikko Rantanen's stature to this team and to this franchise to make us a deep enough team. So then the follow-up question to that is, okay, then how are we going to do that? I know Jack Drury helps in that, but there's got to be more. There's got to be more coming down the line. You'll probably see that in the next month and a couple weeks as it gets closer to the deadline. But that comment right there kind of solidified to me, like, yeah, they made the most difficult decision that they've probably ever had to make, in that we got to let him go. We got to let him go if we want to make our team a deeper team. And yet we could sign him and everybody be happy. And hey, we signed one of the best players in the league. But can we keep getting better down the road? And they looked at that answer and said, no. That is a very, very difficult thing to have to come to terms with.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that point up, because those were the two things. There were 2 comments that he made in that press conference that stood out to me. That was one, because that goes back to what we were talking about in our breaking news episode after the trade happened. This team's getting tired of doing Calvin DeHaan, Parker Kelly, and the $1 million deals just to fill out a team. It's not making the team better. You're just putting up a roster. And remember last year you had Ryan Johansson, Tomas Tatar, and you had to scrap all that and fix the team at the trade deadline. You had to get rid of your goalies. And you're like, they're getting tired of constantly having to look at the waiver wire and available players to put this team together. Like, they want to have some stability depth wise, because as McFarland said, this team's not built to go 4 rounds. And he's correct. Other than the Stanley Cup, they have not been. So I understand it's sad that Mikko's got to go, but who are you cheering more for? The Colorado Avalanche or Mikko Rantanen? Because if you want the Colorado Avalanche to get better, you have to let go of people like Mikko Rantanen. And to follow up on that, the other point, when they asked him about Gabe Landeskog's return, he said nothing on the near horizon for his return. He's still making his comeback. So again, look around you. We're about to head into February. Nothing on the near horizon. So also keep that in mind. There's a lot of things you have to, if you want to make the Colorado Avalanche a Stanley Cup contender, you got to start letting some pieces go and start actually improving this team. And it's a good thing they made this move now with so much time between the four nations and the trade deadline. They can really be smart about the pieces they're bringing into Colorado.
And we'll get our first break in, but don't you feel like other guys on this team are kind of like, hey, I might not be safe here. if I'm not playing the way I'm up to, if they let Mikko Rantanen go, anybody is on the table, with the exception if your name is Nathan or Cale.
Which we'll talk about when we break down the Rangers game.
All right, so let's do that. We'll get our first break in, and we'll get into this weekend, namely this most recent Rangers game. Exciting finish to this one, so we'll do that right after this. All right, Super Bowl 59 is here. Does anybody really care? No, I'm kidding.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Well, you do. You know what? And I am going to root for the Eagles for a multitude of reasons, but your boy is a big Eagles fan, so I'm backing Colin in this one, and we'll get him a win. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. Well, hopefully there's just one possibility, and that the Kansas City Chiefs lose. There's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action with live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets on the Super Bowl, that is the icing on the cake, sir. Download the app. Head to FanDuel.com and get started. Bet just $5 and you could win $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. Crazy that we're there already. All right, so Avs going to this weekend, back-to-back afternoon, road back-to-back, tough one. And lose the game in Boston, where I didn't think they played particularly bad. But, a third period kind of collapse here and there. And Boston gets 3 goals on you with an empty netter. I think it was the empty netter, third one, right? Yeah. And then you got to turn right around and get back out there on the ice for the New York Rangers. And again, I thought the Avalanche played a good game. You had moments where you had like lapses, and the third period, the Rangers seemed like they were kind of the team rolling in the third, and you don't surrender the lead. They tie you, but you had they had that power play late in the game. Everything was just momentum was going on their side, and you kill that penalty. In my mind, like watching the game, I'm thinking, if kill this penalty, we can go into overtime. Because I think there was like 2:23 or something like that when they committed the penalty, bogus penalty, by the way. And I'm just thinking, if you can just kill it, we can go to overtime and then try to get the extra point there. And what does Cale Makar do? Cale Makar swoops in like the Superman he is, right out of the penalty box, goes the other way. Beautiful pass to Artturi Lehkonen, who continues to just make incredibly timely goals for this team, and they walk away with a regulation win. Great finish of that game.
I thought it was cool because Cale Makar, being Cale Makar, did not go for the hat trick in that moment and dished it off. Like I was like, oh, he's going to get it. He's going to get it. How ceremonious. Get that hat trick for real this time. Get the hat trick and win the game. But he passed off the most perfect shot. And it was this, again, we've talked about this a couple times with the different versions of the team that we have seen so far. But this could be a turning point moment, because with the new acquisitions to the team, Natchez being one, there's a new feeling in the power play. It's visible. You could see it. Cale Makar netted one in the first period. They were 1 for 2 on the night. That's nice. I'll take that. You like what these guys are bringing, like Drury. I like his contributions as well. And with this team on this road trip and when they get back to ball, I'm excited to see what this team could do, because against Boston, you had about a 40-minute effort and you let it get away. In the Rangers, you had about a 40-minute, like, it was a heavyweight fight. It was a really good game. That third period got crazy. You let the lead go and you found a way to fight back. So this is one of those rallying moments. Now, Natchez and Drury, they have this moment of, okay, this is what it feels like. This is what you do when you put in the work. This is what the Avalanche are going to do and who's going to contribute. So I'd like to see them build. And what Tuesday looks like against the Islanders is going to be fun, but I like seeing the team starting to click.
What I really like about Martin Necas is for the Avs, like, it's usually Nathan MacKinnon who is, the bull that just gets the head of steam, and he's the one carrying the puck into the offensive zone. And the offense is still going to flow through him. He's your superstar. He's leading the league in points, all that stuff. And that's, it's just how the offense operates. But Necas has that ability to do that. It's like Mikko Rantanen was a great winger for Nathan MacKinnon to kind of just hang with him, and then MacKinnon could just pass him the puck and Mikko could do things with it. But Mikko wasn't the guy that really carried the puck into the zone all the time. That was always left up to Nathan MacKinnon. And now if the puck goes to Necas first, you're going to see him take it into the zone, because he has some nice puck handling skills. I'm not saying Mikko Rantanen didn't, but you almost have two guys now that can do the same thing. So it's not just when MacKinnon has it, defense can focus in on him. It's Necas can do that same exact thing. He's pretty dynamic with the puck. I think we're what fans are going to see from him is, the score, because that's where Mikko did his damage and scoring and power play. They didn't need him to carry the puck in the zone all the time. It really wasn't his game. But if Necas can do that and then just go, along the boards, hockey style, and look around and facilitate that way, like Nathan MacKinnon does, that's a dangerous line. That can be a dangerous line. Even though, you're losing Mikko Rantanen, Necas has got some offensibility in him. It's exciting to watch him with the puck.
All right. Now I'm going to say something that, we all have seen and accepted as just kind of the moose, but what's really coming to, like, the difference between Georgie and Blackwood, we're seeing with Natchez and Mikko. Mikko was a good 70-foot player. Natchez plays all over. He's speedy. He's got like Drouin MacKinnon-ish speed. He's quick, and he's not afraid to take a shot. He was hitting iron all throughout that Ranger game. Like, he's not afraid to line up. If it's there, he's going to put it on net. And I like that. Like, he's burying behind the net. He's setting stuff up, and he's moving. On that power play, he's moving. He's not just sitting there like Chris when you did the StatCast, putting up the power play, how it was just 5 red dots. Like, he's moving. He's active, and you could see that difference and what that kind of contribution can lead to Nathan MacKinnon, or Nathan MacKinnon could feed that kind of productivity. I really like what he's bringing to the team, and I can see the night and day difference. Like, Mikko hasn't been that kind of 200-foot guy in about 2 years. He got comfortable in his spot and passing it off to Nathan MacKinnon and let him do the work and him clean it up. I'm curious what Natchez will do in his role.
Obviously things worked with Mikko Rantanen in Colorado. It worked for a very long time. I think it can work with Martin Necas, just in a different way. Yeah, in a different way, and so it might be. I wonder if there's going to be some growing pains in just getting to understand how each of these guys play with new line mates and stuff like that. That probably will happen, but you're going to get a different look on the top line, and between Necas, between MacKinnon, Makar, that is a speed demon line. An absolute speed demon line. So, I think that's part of the reason why the Avalanche went that route, was because they covet speed. And Martin Necas has it for sure. So I'm, it still is going to sting for a long time losing Mikko Rantanen, but there is some exciting parts to what Martin Necas can bring to the offense, and I think you saw it at least in this Ranger game.
And it helps that Mikko didn't get any points when he donned those terrible colors in Carolina, and Necas already had 2 in the Ranger game.
Yeah, I'm over on the NHL side, the game stat sheet for this game against the Rangers, and I was just looking it up before. I was just loading it up, getting it ready for the episode, and I'm going down the time on ice for the Avs. Not a single forward over 20 minutes in this game. So the highest, and you would think, oh, well, Nathan MacKinnon was probably close. He wasn't the highest. Nathan MacKinnon was 1835. Martin Necas was at 1934. And Drew Wren was at 1930. So there were a couple guys above Nathan MacKinnon. But this goes to the McFarland thing about like depth. Your depth maybe isn't solved right now. It's better with Jack Drury there. But I think this is more what the Avalanche want to see. Because I think in the first game against Boston, I think Necas was over like 25 minutes in that game. So you see a little bit more, and when you have a lead, you're able to do that. You know, you're able to roll out lines a little bit easier when you're not chasing and you're behind. So that helps. So that was nice to see. So you had nobody over 20 minutes. So
he had 25:08 against Boston.
25. There you go. So a day at the office for all your forwards. They shouldn't be tired at all if none of them are playing over 20 minutes a game. That's awesome.
Yeah, and now you think you're starting to watch defense now how that works, because there's still logging the long minutes, and there's some things that you want to circle around like certain performances, because again, after that move of Mikko, nobody's safe, and you expect to see everybody playing at their best at least to the trade deadline.
That Necas led them in expected goals too, 0.56. So
nice little acquisition.
Huh?
Nice little acquisition.
Yeah, I think I think
it's better than nothing at the end of the year. If this is how it's all going to play out,
I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah,
yep.
I mean, if you're the type that was like, you got to get something for him, it's a pretty good something.
Yep,
it's a pretty good something. And I think like we said, the style that he plays, I think fits the Avalanche pretty well. So we'll see where this goes. But overall, a very, very exciting game in New York. A lot of back and forth, and it was nice on a back-to-back to see the Avalanche pull this thing out. If they were going to get tired legs at the end, but the Rangers were in command for a lot of that third. The shots on goal were 14-3. So the Avalanche were just generating really nothing on offense in the third, but they hung tight. I thought that the goals that the Rangers got, the Avs really made them like work for it. You know what I mean? I didn't really think there was any real easy saves that Blackwood should have had that he didn't have. I thought they were kind of like the Rangers were fighting for these goals, and they made them fight for it. So it was nice to see them pull out a win here. It's a good win.
Yeah, Blackwood had an 892 night against the Rangers. This is a nice little poster board material. Shesterkin had a 762. Yeah,
he. I mean, that one play by Makar, that goal that he scored, his first goal. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was the first goal that he scored. Was just a thing of beauty. Beautiful. You just can't stop that. So, all right, let's get our last break in here. We have some people from Subtext chiming in, mainly on the Mikko thing still, how they made it through the weekend. And then we have a sound check to get to, which is not just going to be for the Ranger game, like the all-encompassing weekend that was with Mikko and obviously in all the games. So we'll do that right after this. All right, let's check over on Subtext and some people chiming in on the weekend after losing Mikko Rantanen. So, yeah, if you want to get on this, like we said in the beginning, sign up. The link's in the show notes below. And you get into the Subtext crew. We talk individually, and we use some of your quotes for the podcast. Like Lisa, She says, I don't hate the trade. I firmly believe that the two sides weren't going to come to an agreement. Better to trade now than at the deadline to potentially get a better deal. Even with the cap increasing, the Avs would be in a tight spot if Mikko truly wanted 14 per year. If Landeskog comes back, Makar coming up for new contract, and the money they needed to give Blackwood, cap space would still likely be tight. Of course, watching the play of Nishis and Drury today that helped me feel a little bit better. Time will tell, but I'm willing to give Chris McFarland the benefit of the doubt. You know, McFarland's really under the gun here by the people that are just Mikko fans and don't really like that they got rid of him. They wanted to see him maybe try to still come to an agreement. Somebody did ask him in that press conference about the cap going up, and he acknowledged that. And he said, like, yeah, even with the cap going up, we still need to make decisions about, he didn't say depth specifically, but he was alluding to that. So even knowing the cap is going up, it still seemed like this was the difficult road that they had to go down.
You've got to shift your focus at some time, because we talk about doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting success. Well, you keep paying your top line, having a top heavy team and a weak depth. Like, eventually you've got to figure out, we got to go deeper than this, and you got to pay to go deeper. So
yeah. Brandon said not happy, but they had to do what they had to do. I'm just wondering what Mikko's agent was asking for to make the Avs give up and trade him. As far as numbers, we were hearing 14, and that would seem to be the number that nobody was budging from in the Mikko camp. And I think that the Avalanche has got to the point where it's like they've never moved off of this since we've been negotiating. And if they're not going to now, they're not going to when it's closer to the time where, you know, he's becoming a free agent and someone will give him that. And I think that's where the Avalanche were like, this is why we have to make the move.
And before everybody starts throwing it out there, I know I saw the article, the Finnish article, where he said he was willing to take a cut. Like, you don't know if that was the 14 to get closer to McKinnon's number. You don't know, but I know that article is out there, so don't throw that out there. We know it's over and done.
Yeah, I just saw that, and I saw that a little bit before we were recording, and I didn't really want to mention just because, like, I didn't like confirm that or anything. Like, where it actually can't. I just saw a clip on someone's social media page, and I didn't see the actual article yet, so I want to go see that first.
And we don't know where the cut's coming from. Is 14 the cut? Would the cut come down to Nathan numbers? Is he worth Nathan numbers? Can you pay everybody Nathan numbers? Like,
oh, I think he's worth Nathan MacKinnon numbers. It's just the Avalanche were lucky enough to have 3 guys on the team that are worth that. So it's tough to pay all 3 guys that amount. It's tough with the cap. So I did though, man. Like I was having not like dreams about like Mikko Rantanen like leaving that night, but I was waking up. It was the first thing on my mind. As soon as I woke up in the morning, like, man, that really did happen last night.
I said the same thing to my kids when I woke up. I was like, that really happened. My daughter's like, why? I was like, you're not going to get the answer.
It just didn't compute for a little while. It was really, you haven't felt like that for a trade in a long time.
Well, me with Nas when he left, that was really rough.
That was a signing though. You know what I mean? Like
you didn't think it was going to happen. You thought he was coming back.
Yeah, no, but that's like when a guy goes elsewhere just because he's a free agent, like I get it. That still stings a little bit. Like, man, I really wish he would have hung around. But to get a midseason trade of someone of his caliber just has not happened, and I can't tell you when. And it just stuck with me all night long. It really did.
It's the anti-Duchesne move.
I guess so. Yeah, maybe that one was like, okay, well, he finally got what he wanted, and we just fleeced the entire league with that one. Cody, admittedly, I'm still a little torn because I didn't want to see Rantanen go, but as a quote business decision, I can get it as Nishis and Drury seem like good pickups along with the draft picks, which I think they'll flip for other players. Could happen. We don't know. Yep. We'll see. But after the Boston game, the team clearly was shocked and a bit sad about Mikko being traded. And now we're starting to hear that Mikko is also a bit upset too. I would be. I'm okay with him being upset. That's fine. I get it. So now part of me hopes that this was an elaborate ruse and McFarland gets Mikko back when the offseason starts. Extraordinarily unlikely given the politics of it all, but a guy can dream. A guy can dream, dang it, is what he says. And you saw Mikko put up a post earlier today. So putting that up, he's moving on. He's moving on. So, yeah.
That post hit me, and I was like, it's really over.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're posting that and you know you're going into free agency, I think everybody sees the writing on the wall.
Just take us to our face, Mikko.
Yeah. I mean, if you had that conversation with him and be like, hey, man, we're going to trade you for right now just because we don't know if we can sign you, but we'll talk more in the offseason if you want to go back. I don't think that conversation was had. I think it was just we have to move on because it's not just we want to get rid of you for a reason. We want to get rid of you because we need number one, we got to get assets back and we got to address our depth. It's the crappy thing we have to do, but we got to.
Or this is punishment. They just told him go think about it elsewhere and then come back to us, see how it goes in Carolina, see if money's worth it. You don't have Nathan MacKinnon over there.
I know. Madam Battleaxe, I'm still a bit numb by the whole thing. I truly don't see what we got for such a great player. I'm sure there was more business stuff behind the scenes, but this just feels like a punch in the gut as a fan. I'll ride this out, but this is a bet that better pay off. That's fair.
It's not done yet. This is not
right.
The moves. Well, you could do a trade and then more things after. So just hold on.
Yeah, but I don't know if fans really want to do that. They're just seeing the headline Mikko Rantanen traded and not happy about that. So, let's see. I think there was one other one I wanted to get here. I think it was Tanya. I'd love to say cooler heads have prevailed, but no, I'm still angry and I want Chris McFarland fired. I don't see any way this deal ages well. I'm glad they got a win today and even more happy to see the new guys getting some points, but I no longer look at this team as a cup contending team this year. I wouldn't go that far, Tanya. Like I think there's still a very good team. You lose Mikko Rantanen, you're not going to be as good. But let's and like Kyle's been saying, let's see the other moves that happen that maybe makes this team a little bit better. We'll see.
I won't go as far as Tanya about he should be fired, but to all the in-betweens or anti-McFarland, this move justifies everything. He doubled down on this move. So if it does not pan out, and your Avalanche, who, by the way, going into the Ranger game, were 4 points away from missing the playoffs. Like, if it does not pay off and they miss the playoffs or bounce in the first round, serious questions should and could, and deservedly so, be raised because you haven't seen anything develop when it comes to prospects. You've had to basically reset your team 2 years in a row. Like, there can be questions. Like, he doubled down on this move. This was bold. He knew the implications. And to say this is a financial thing, we'll see what really pays off. Because did you just prolong the window or close it completely shut? We'll find out at the end of the year.
And Chris McFarland is not making this trade without the people above him knowing about it.
Sure.
He's not pulling the rug out from everybody and just saying, like, hey, maybe from the players. Players weren't up to snuff on it, but they really shouldn't be. That's not their business. They don't handle that stuff. Joe Sakic knew about this. I'm sure, some of the Cronkies knew about that. I mean, this was not something that just Chris McFarland acted in just a single fashion and just like, I'm doing this. You make a move like this, you're going to get the blessing and the approval from the people above you, at least Joe Sakic. So Sakic knew it. He was behind it. He understands it. And yeah, but still the question remains, if it doesn't work out, if the moves he makes to bring in what you brought in don't pan out, then you can get on him for that too. Saying like, yeah, I was behind you in making the move, but what we got isn't working. And then you're having a different discussion. But right now we do. We have to let this whole thing play out. I'm not with Tom. I get why people want to be mad at him. I completely understand that part of it. But going to the length of saying like this team is no longer a contender, I don't want to go there yet. They addressed the goalie situation, and I think we're happy with what they have in goal. This gives the team a different look for sure. Let's see if that pans out, and let's see what other moves they have up their sleeve. And if they can become a deeper team, that's exactly what you want heading into the playoffs, because those are the teams that win Stanley Cups. Deep teams. Is your top unit as good? Losing Mikko Rantanen? No. But does the move of moving Mikko out and all the subsequent moves make the bottom six better? Then that's kind of what they're going for here, and we'll have to see how far that goes, how far that takes them.
Yeah, it's about how good your top line is and how good the rest of the team is.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right, last thing we're going to get to is our sound check. This is where Kyle and I, we pick one song each that usually summarizes the most recent game. And these songs go on a playlist over on Spotify, which you can follow along. LOA Soundcheck volume number 4. These are going on, but we're going to do kind of like an all-encompassing weekend that was with the trade and the games and all that stuff. Mine is mainly focusing on the Mikko stuff, but what do you got for what are you going to put up for this one?
Yeah, this is our timeline. This is 2025 AR after Rantanen. Now I would go with a band featured in Blues Brothers 2000, one of the worst movies ever made. Blues Traveler and their song Carolina Blues.
Oh, well, isn't that on one of their albums too, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were featured
All right.
they were featured in that terrible movie.
Were they featured in that movie?
Oh yeah. They were like coming out of a club.
Yeah.
But
I love that song though, man.
Yeah, Carolina Blues. We're all kind of in a, like, you can look and see, like, social media, everybody's kind of in a funk. The team's kind of like an emotional funk until that win. We'll see how it carries over and see if this win jettisons everybody out of the funk. But everybody's in a Carolina Blues funk, and then you see little highlights and the little superimposed, like, this is him in a Carolina Hurricane sweater, and that post that you put up of the NHL headquarters, you're like, okay, this is just bad.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. That was where, I mean, we were recording when I saw that picture get posted, and that's kind of just like what hit home when they posted that. That was rough. That was a rough one. So we'll see. I'm going, like I said, I'm focusing on the trade part of it all, and it's kind of a sad song, but hey, it's a sad moment. This is from Our Lady Peace, the great Canadian band, and the song is called "Wish You Well."
Oh,
I know, man. It is. It's such a downer of a song, but it's meaningful for right now. So I had to do it. So
good pick.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. So we'll be back tomorrow. We'll get everybody ready for the game in Long Island against the Islanders, and anything else that's going on in Avs Nation, we'll talk about it. So thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. And hey, maybe you really are 24 hours closer of Sidney Crosby being in an Avalanche sweater.
It can happen.